Gregory Bateson, whom you all like, was a wonderful inspiration to me. I had a great honor and pleasure of meeting him when he came to Dartington Hall to give his last lecture, that was called Last Lecture. And then I had a pleasure of also meeting his former wife. They separated, but they had a good relationship, and that was Margaret Mead. And my wife June and I met her as well. And then I had the pleasure of knowing their two daughters, Nora and Mary Catherine Bateson. So it's a tremendous relationship with the Bateson family. But I want to pay my gratitude not to Bertrand Russell and Mahatma Gandhi and Gregory Bateson, but to my mother. Because we are meeting here as a family therapy organization. And mother is the key to every family. Mother is the hero of every family. Without the mother, nothing happens. We are not anywhere without the mother. And so my mother had 8 children, big family. And my mother was the queen of the house. But also she was a deeply, profoundly spiritual being. And she was my first teacher and the best teacher. When I think of the person or the people who had great influence on my life, as Nigel mentioned, and I had a great honor and pleasure and delight of meeting many, many wonderful people, including Martin Luther King. After my 8,000-mile walk from India to America, I had heard Martin Luther King's great speech, I Have a Dream speech, which was his life's, I think, the greatest speech. And I was just telling Annette that speech was impromptu speech. He had written this speech to give this wonderful audience of 250,000 people in Washington, D.C. was one of the biggest demonstrations of the black people and white people together for the civil rights movement. And he had written a speech, and he started to give this speech, and there was a wonderful singer woman who is a friend of Martin Luther King standing next to him, and the speech was getting a bit boring. And so she said to Martin Luther King in his ears, Martin, tell them about your dream. And so Martin Luther King gave attention to his wonderful woman friend. And I think men should always remember to listen to women friends. And so he heard, and he put down his paper and said, I have a dream. And I have a dream, and I have a dream. And you can hear that speech is on BBC iPlayer and everywhere, and you can read it. It's a wonderful speech. And so I heard that speech when I was in Paris on my walk, and I was so touched by it that when I arrived in New York, I wrote to Martin Luther King and I said, Dr. King, you have a big dream, but I have a small dream. And my dream is to meet you. And he wrote to me back saying, yes, Mr. Kumar, you have walked from India to America. You are a Gandhian. Gandhi has been the great inspiration to me. Come and see me. And so I went and saw him. And this was one of life's great experience, to meet a man of such charisma, but also great spirituality, great spirit, great soul. However, when I think of the greatest influence on my life, I would say that was from my mother. And not only she loved me as a child and so on, but she taught me about another mother, and that is Mother Earth, Mother Nature. So she extended my idea of family. We have an intimate family, and we have an ultimate family. The intimate family is your mother, your father, your brother, sister, your children. We know all. But our idea of family also need to be extended. That is what Gregory Bateson said, that we are all related. We are all interconnected. Everything depends on everything else. We are all one family. In Sanskrit, which my mother taught me, in Sanskrit we say, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudha means the mother earth, the whole earth. And Kutumbakam means family. So the whole earth is our family. So we need to extend this consciousness. We have to expand our consciousness and include all living beings as our family. Now, our world is very divided. We say, I am English or British. You are American. You are Chinese. You are Russian. You are Hindu. You are Muslim. You are communist. You are capitalist. You are this or that. We divide, and divide. What we need to do is to unite. Division is not diversity. We celebrate diversity. We say wonderful to have so many nationalities, so many religions, so many philosophies, so many races, so many colors, so many accents, so many color of hair, so many eyes, different eyes. No two eyes are same. Diversity is to be celebrated. The evolution favors diversity. Without diversity, there is no unity. But through that diversity, we see the unity. So we go beyond these divisions. We transcend divisions. Whether you are American or Russian, you are Chinese or Indian, you are Hindu or Muslim, Christian or Buddhist, whoever you are, black or white, man or woman, we are members of one human family. This is why I want you to extend the idea of family as a human family. But even there, we don't stop. And we say even the birds flying in the sky are our brothers and sisters. Even the tigers and elephants and snakes and butterflies and worms and insects are our brothers and sisters. That was my kind of mother's Jain idea, the Jain religion, which my mother followed. Her idea was that even the earthworms are members of our one earth family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the earth family. Darwin, the great evolution scientist, he researched on earthworms. So if there are no earthworms, we won't be here. Can you realize that? Can you imagine that? That without the earthworms, working day and night under the soil, without asking for any holiday, without asking for any wages, never strike. They are working day and night to keep our soil beautifully fertile, so that our rice and wheat and potatoes and tomatoes and apples and oranges and mangoes and everything can grow. And we forget earthworms. We forget the soil. We forget all the bees which pollinate all our plants and our flowers and our fruit and our vegetables. Without bees, humanity cannot survive. Einstein said that if the bees disappeared, humanity will have no more than 4 years to survive. That's a great scientist, Einstein. And therefore, my mother's idea and Jain idea, which I have learned from ecology and from Gregory Bateson and from James Lovelock and from Lynn Margulis and from many great women and men who have embraced this new vision for the whole of the earth together. And that is, to me, is the spirituality. Spirituality is not just going in and living in a monastery, which I did for 9 years. I was a monk. And after 9 years, one day, I was reading the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi. And as Nigel rightly said, that Mahatma Gandhi had a great influence on me. And when I read it, one of the messages of Mahatma Gandhi was that the spirituality is not exclusive to the monks or the monastic order or the people who close their eyes and sit under the trees or in the caves or wherever. spirituality should be inclusive of every being. We all need to live and practice spirituality, not for the monks only. And so we have to bring spirituality into our daily life, everyday activity. How do we do that? Transforming our consciousness, transforming our motivation. So Mahatma Gandhi's idea was that we must bring spirituality into everyday life, into everyday practice. Whether you're a business person, it should be a spiritual practice. You are a politician, politics should be a spiritual practice. Mahatma Gandhi was a politician. If you are a farmer, you are a gardener, you are a cook, you are an architect, whatever you are doing, what is your motivation? Why are you doing it? If you are doing it only for self-serving ideas, to make yourself great and big and rich and famous and big status, then you are moving away from spirituality. But if you are doing your politics, your business, your family therapy, your gardening, your cooking, you're building a house in the service of humanity. You are doing it in the service of the Mother Earth. You are doing it not to waste anything, not to pollute anything. No pollution, no waste, pure service. And then your livelihood coming from it is a byproduct. Of course, when you build a house, you get your wages, because we are not earthworms. We need wages, and we can have money. But the purpose of our work is to serve the humanity. You are in the family therapy work. It's a wonderful work. It is a spiritual practice. It is not just kind of thinking that I get famous for it, or I get big name for it, or I get more money for it, or something. It's my livelihood. It's my kind of way of earning living. All those ideas, all those purposes are secondary. The primary purpose of any work, I've been editing Researchers magazine, as Nigel said, for 42 years. Why? Not for any other purpose. All the other purposes are secondary. Main purpose is to serve my readers, serve the humanity, serve the good cause of conservation, of culture, of community, of family. So that service, the motivation of that service, when you are meeting somebody who's in problem, psychological problem, social problem, family problem, a job problem, whatever, your heart, your compassion, your kindness, your love oozes out of you and says you want to help and you want to serve this person. How can you be an instrument? How can you be a kind of cause to reduce that suffering? That is spirituality. So spirituality is not exclusive for the monks or the religious people or the meditators or the yogis who do yoga in the morning, yoga in the evening, but they are miserable. And so spirituality is to bring that motivation, that transformation of our consciousness, that expansion of our consciousness. And so ecology, nature, Mother Earth, and family, our parents and children, and husbands and wives, and our neighbors, and all other people, everything, everyday life, every moment of life, if that consciousness is right there, then we are spiritual beings. And then, when you are a spiritual being, you realize that in the family, how can we bring compassion to each other? Rather than anger, argument, pride, ego, my order, my ideas, my desire. You free yourself from those attachments. You free yourself from those desires. Desires for ego, desires for success, desires for money, desires for control. That is the biggest desire that many times we have. We want to control the situation. In a family, and particularly between husband and wife or children, if you can free yourself from this idea of control and bring yourself to the idea of participation, that I am participating in the process of living, and therefore there is nobody in control. We are all participating, developing ideas together, working together. It's a journey. Family life is a pilgrimage. We are on a pilgrimage together with your wife, with your husband, with your child, with your mother, your father, whoever you are in your family. We are working together on a great pilgrimage of life. And I like the idea of pilgrim. We are in this Canterbury town, which is a great spiritual and place of pilgrimage. When I made my pilgrimage around Britain, 2,000 miles of walking, after my 8,000 mile, I did another short walk of 2,000 miles, and I started from Devon and came all the way, Pilgrim's Way, to Canterbury here, and then I went, I took a little boat to cross the estuary, and then I went to East Anglia, and then Norwich and Walsingham and Lincoln, York, Durham, Lindisfarne, up to Iona. And then I walked back through Wales and back to Devon. So that's in my books, and you can read them. But I came to Canterbury. So we are in this place of pilgrimage, and I made that pilgrimage. I like the idea of us all being pilgrims. I called my film, which I made for the BBC, called Earth Pilgrim. We are all pilgrims of life. And what is to be a pilgrim? To be a pilgrim is to rise above these narrow, egotistical, proud ways of thinking and include yourself as a family. When you are in the state of family mindset, then your ego dissolves and you are participating member of this big community. You start with your small family of blood relationship, but you expand to your neighborhood, you expand to your village, you expand to your county, you expand to your country, you expand to your continent, you expand to whole of humanity, and you expand to whole of the earth. And this is why the family therapists need to have that consciousness, that mind, that background in your consciousness, that when you are helping one person, that's a microcosm of macrocosm. That one person represents at that time the entire universe. By helping that one person, you are helping the entire universe. Can you imagine what great work you are doing? Can you imagine that when you are helping one person, you are helping another person, the whole of the universe? Because that one person is made of the stars. That one person is made of the sun, the moon. That one person is made of the entire earth and air and fire and water and consciousness. So, when you can serve one person, one family, you can serve the entire universe. That microcosm of macrocosm, that consciousness is the consciousness of a pilgrim. And so I would say that your work as a family therapist is a very big work. Sometimes we forget that why we are doing what we are doing. We forget only I'm helping one family, I'm a small person. But you are not. You are potentially a Gandhi yourself. You are a Mother Teresa yourself. What was Mother Teresa? Only 2 arms, 2 legs, short woman? Nothing much different. But she had that consciousness. That consciousness can be with us, with everybody. We all can embrace that consciousness. So the moment you embrace that consciousness, you are a true family therapist. So let us expand our consciousness. Let us reach that out. The ecology, beautiful word ecology. Ecos, the Greek word ecos, means home. And the wisdom of the great Greek philosophers, home is not only your family home. Of course, that is your home, where you live. You have your bedroom, you have a bathroom, you have a living room, you have a garden, you have a kitchen. But expand that idea, like family idea. In India, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the Greek idea is the same, that you expand your idea of home into the universal home, the planet home, the earth home. The entire earth is our home. So ecology, the knowledge of entire home, planet home. So when you know how all the relations are working together, like Gregory Bateson said, we don't have 5 fingers. We have 4 relationships. We have all relationships. We are all related. We are all connected. When we breathe together, we are breathing the same air. We are drinking the same water. We are eating from the same soil, earth, same earth, all our food coming from. So we are all made of each other. That kind of consciousness is what makes an ordinary woman like Mother Teresa into extraordinary woman. So we are all that extraordinary. We are potentially a Gandhi, a Mother Teresa, a Martin Luther King, a Wangari Maathai, whatever your great ideal is, a Shakespeare, a Beethoven, a Bach, a Van Gogh, whoever is your ideal, just imagine yourself to be that. And in order to be that, you expand your consciousness, drop your ego, drop your smallness, make your mind big. Stephen Hawking wrote this wonderful book called Brief History of Time. On the last paragraph of the book, he said that all this science we are working, one day science will be able to touch the mind of God. And when I read it, I thought that I should write to Mr. Hawking and say that you can touch the mind of God this very moment. In this very moment, the moment you expand your mind, and your family is the whole universe, your family, the stars and the moon and the sun and the trees and the forests and the oceans, all the animals, all the humans, they're all members of one family. That's the mind of God. So you can expand your consciousness. And so when you can do that, you are able to be true family therapy. You don't have to go to India like Mother Teresa did. You don't have to run a civil rights movement like Martin Luther King did. You can just help one person, one family. And that through you don't have to be famous. You don't have to have a big name. You don't have to have headlines in newspapers in order to be touching the mind of God. You just need to have that consciousness, that awareness that what you are doing is serving this whole earth family. So for me, spirituality, the theme of this conference, environment, ecology, systems thinking. What is systems? System thinking is we are all interconnected. Nothing stands by itself. If you take your orange in your hand, how that orange is made? Take the sun out, there's no orange. Take the rain out, there's no orange. Take the soil out, there's no orange. Take the orchard keeper, there's no orange. That orange is made of the sun, the rain, the soil, the earthworm, the orchard keeper, the shopkeeper, the person who has bought that orange and brought to you. All that is making that one orange. And so, we are all interconnected. This understanding that we are all dependent on each other. I wrote a book called You Are, Therefore I Am. You are, therefore I am. What makes me a speaker today? You, the listeners. Without you, the listeners, I won't be a speaker. Speaker is not just who can put a few English words together or a few ideas together. Speaker is dependent on the listener. And the listener is dependent on the speaker. We are one. You are, therefore I am. The universe is, therefore I am. The earth, air, water, fire, consciousness, imagination, creativity, all those things exist in the world, therefore I am. And so our existence is not separate. This idea, the old story of separation has to come to an end. Let's all declare today in this family therapy conference that the idea of separation is yesterday's story. Today's story is relationship. That's Gregory Bateson. And it's not just words, it's a reality. It's not just a word, it's the experience. It's not just a word, it's the future of humanity. Unless we come to this humanity, ISIS problem is not going to be solved. Syrian problem, Iraqi problem, Afghanistan problem, Kashmir problem, problem of poverty, problem of racial discrimination, problem of sexism, ageism, all the problems stem from this one very fault line. And that fault line is separation. We are all separate, individualized. I'm English, you are Scottish, I'm American, you are Chinese, you are Russian, all this animosity. So the moment we drop that and we see ourselves as members of one great family and members of one small family at the same time, then we can solve all the problems. So let's remember Gregory Bateson again. We are not 5 fingers, we are 4 relationships. We are all related. We are all connected. Thank you very much.
perhaps his microphone's running around.
What I'd like to say is that...
Speak a bit louder.
Sorry, your point about separation is obvious. The only people that came to that conclusion immediately were the astronauts on Skylab. And they say, we don't see different people. We don't see different human beings.
That's right.
We see one planet
Yes.
and one human race.
Yeah.
And, you know, if that's the only thing that Skylab delivers, that's a fantastic insight.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a wonderful reminder. Like we said, we have inspiration from these great beings, from Mahatma Gandhi to my mother. But one picture taken by the astronauts, one picture of the whole Earth, that changed our consciousness. And in that picture, taken from the space, there are no borders. There is no America, there is no Russia, there is no China, there is no black, there is no white, there is no man, there is no animal. One Earth. And one Earth, one future. We all have shared future. And that one picture from astronaut, as you said and reminded, it's a great inspiration. It's a great historical picture, I would say. That was a historical picture. And so to remind us, but we have not learned. We have seen the picture, we admire it, but we have not yet learned. And this is why we have so many conflicts, so many wars, and so many difficulties in our humanity. So we need to get that message of one Earth. And then all our differences are welcome. All our differences are diversity of life. It's wonderful to have millions of different kinds of trees. Not even two oak are same, but oak and ash and elm and all the other trees. Millions of fruit, millions of everything. It's diversity. So diversity should not be confused with division. Diversity and unity are complementary. Diversity and division are separate. And the same way, unity must not be confused with uniformity. We are not asking for uniformity. We want diversity. We want differences. But differences should be celebrated and not hated. This is the message of, I think, idea of the family. Thank you. The question there.
And what came to my mind is the comfort that we get from individuation and separation, and that we maybe find that our consciousness is structured in quite an effective way by maintaining divisions. And I just wondered how you thought we should, maybe, or I should, or we should change our relationship with that sense of comfort that we get.
Yes. Individuation is a beautiful word. Individuation is close to self-realization. So we always need to ask, who am I? And the moment you start to ask that question, who am I, you are on the path of individuation. And that comfort is beautiful. But that individuation is not a symbol of separation. That individuation, like Carl Jung has very beautifully explained and described, that individuation is self-realization. To say, who am I? And I can say, I'm an Indian. All right. But beyond that, who am I? I'm editor. All right. But beyond that, who am I? Keep asking that question. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And then you will reach that individuation, which your real self. And your real self is not this separated, isolated, disconnected being. But your real self is this expansive, interconnected, interrelated, interdependent, universal self. In English, it's a very beautiful way that you spell the word self in two different ways. One self is spelled with capital S, and the other self is spelled with small s. So the capital S is the individuation S, where you realize that yourself is something much, much greater and much, much more profound than this editor, Indian, Hindu, Jain, this body. Of course, this body is the kind of symbol This is why Carl Jung's idea of symbolism is very good. When you make a picture of mandala, that one mandala represents the universe, but a symbol. When you are meditating, you put your thumb and the index finger together, like this. This is a mandala. And you say, this is the moon, this is the sun, this is the earth. And the universe is connected, and we are all connected, and the thumb is connected with the index finger. This is the symbol. So if you can use that individuation and your comfort in individuation and be at ease with yourself and realize who you are, truly you are, then I think individuation can be a wonderful pilgrimage and a wonderful journey. So I'm all in favor of individuation, but individuation is not individualism. There's a difference between individuation and individualism. And the ism is our great problem. Communism, capitalism, Hinduism, Buddhism, individualism, socialism, capitalism. So let's make all isms wasms.